Excuse me, what the actual fuck?
TMNT is a pretty cool franchise, am I right? It has turtles fighting against ninjas, aliens, robots and villains with some weird fashion choices. Plus the turtles are really cool. You got Leonardo, the leader with cool swords, Raphael, the hothead with pretty sick size, and Michelangelo, the funny guy with his iconic nunchakus. The Turtle Brothers must protect New York City and eventually the world from the evil Shredder. Oh, and there's Donatello with his stick and machines, I guess. Yeah, sometimes it feels like this when all his other brothers get all the attention and action, and you rarely hear anyone say Donatello is my favorite, unless it's about Rise. And I don't really get why, as Donnie is really cool. He's the main turtle who invented all their cool vehicles and gadgets, but most people's reaction seeing him is mostly this.
What the? Oh, I totally forgot about you,
I mean, he does machines, he got this sick purple bandana and wields a bow staff. I mean, who doesn't love a big stick? He's in my opinion severely underrated and underutilized in the TV shows, and in this video I want to go over why I think that is. But first, I want to make 3 rules. Number 1. I won't be talking about comics except to bring up his origins. I've never read any of them, and I've heard that Don gets some major development in IDW comics, but won't be bringing that up as again, I've never read it. Number 2. I will try to keep everything pretty surface level, as needed to cover 40 years of different TV shows and movies will make this video even longer than it is. And believe me, you and I don't really want to be here all day. Except if you're really into TMNT, then you got the time. I'll just assume that most watchers have seen at least some of the shows and know what I'm going to talk about. I will however go deeper if needed. Number 3. Rise Donatello is awesome. I will be fanboying all over him, so I don't want to hear any comments about "but trash, 2012 Donnie is so much better." Quiet. Don't even finish that sentence. Anyway, now that I laid some rules, I want to point out that this video will be part 1 to the whole Donatello subject, as while I was writing this I noticed it was going to be very long, and like I said earlier, we don't wanna be here all day. So for part 1 I'll cover the 87 and 2003 versions of Donatello, and for part 2 I'll go over 2012, Rise and Mutant Mayhem Donatellos, and then go over some of my ideas on how Don could get some major screen time. I will also mention his movie counterparts if needed, but otherwise will mostly focus on the TV shows. But now that the rules and other disclaimers are out of the way, let's begin with the origins.
We've sworn to terminate the Shredder to avenge Master Yoshi.
Mirage Donatello is a calm turtle. He wields a bow staff, and he knows some computer stuff. Oh, and also he killed Shredder by knocking him and the grenade he had off the roof. Anyway, let's talk about the actual cartoons like I mentioned earlier. 1987 Donnie is what it really started it all. The machines, the purple bandana, being the smart guy, and of course, constantly having to figure out how to not blow shit up. He is calm, is second in command if Leonardo isn't there to lead, and is different in few ways to his different counterparts. Like for instance, he doesn't really care for the humans or their culture, and he isn't really into self-sacrifice and rather find other alternatives so they can continue on living. I also really like his voice actor, but for some reason he does spit different these days compared to his 87 cartoon appearances.
Hey, they must have used a molecular disintegrator beam to teleport the part across the airwaves.
I'm trying to tell you, this isn't a weapon. It's a portal projector.
This era of the TMNT didn't really have much character development over the course of the series and mainly focused on silly self-contained stories, but there are a few I want to mention. Maltese Hamster was pretty goofy as Donatello constantly narrated as the stereotypical detective as they try to stop these gangsters from stealing antiques. Donatello's degree was a good episode where he focused on him getting his science degree and stopping this evil scientist from destroying the world. Donatello Trash the Slash was one of my favorites as he focused on Donnie adopting his scientific and mechanical skills as his inventions always had something wrong with them and always causes a mess, but over the episode as Slash returned as a super genius, his inventions and engineering skills saved the day. I do recommend watching this episode as it was pretty entertaining. The showrunners focused quite fairly on him as he had quite many solid solo episodes. Sure, a few of them are quite goofy, but I really like the idea of Donatello feeling uncertain about his skill due to his creations always having some kind of fault in them, only to prove that without his technological skills they won't really stand a chance. Anyway, we shall probably move on to Alright, now we are in familiar territory. This Donatello is actually the first iteration of him I've seen and is my favorite. Call it nostalgia or something, but I always saw myself in him. He is calm, quite smart, likes to create stuff, and those purple fabrics around the bow staff is nice. Although I have to say, I am quite brain dead in real life, so I guess my preferences for characters come with this fish of not being so stupid. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, he's calm, but more to that, he's the most passive turtle of the four and rarely gets aggressive. Choosing to be more of a pacifist most often. Like he would rather talk things out even if the enemy happens to be a large mutant cockroach human creature. Like if I was in that situation, I would have broke out a big ass flamethrower. Also, I'm not too sure about this, but at least in this cartoon I noticed they started depicting him physically weaker compared to his brothers, as he usually was the first one to get knocked out of a fight, but covered the weakness with his intellectual skills. But again, if I'm wrong, you are welcome to point it out. Like the 87 version, he pulled all of the gadgets his brothers will be using, such as the turtle phones, many vehicles and so on. Like Donnie in this iteration is a genius out of this world, as he's able to build the usual vehicles such as an armor, fan, motorcycle, and even a super slider which can hover off the ground. Like god damn, how was he able to create this stuff out of junk. Even the car he invented has actual missiles in it. Like, where he gets this stuff? Does he have connections to the goddamn CIA? Is he like there to make sure the citizens pay their taxes and in return they just give him all this cool shit? Also, I really like his voice, it really fits as this calm and intellectual turtle, and would not mind him returning in some future incarnation.
Casey's been ejected from the ballpark, and April's in the kitchen. I think Mikey's out exploring in the woods.
Like earlier, he is the brains of the operations and holds a second in command title whenever Leo isn't there to lead. I mean, there's literally an episode about where Donatello goes missing for 30 years, the turtles fail to defeat the Shredder and he conquers the world enslaving everybody. You may now think, wow, Donatello isn't that underrated. He has so many good skill sets and the team would fall apart without him. I would hope that will be the case, but here the showrunners kind of forgot about him. I mean, his brothers got a lot of episodes to showcase their skills and personalities. Like Raphael may seem like this big angry asshole, but he has his scientific side and is quite nice under that rough exterior. Michelangelo may seem really dumb and unfocused, but he's the most skilled fighter of them all, proving it by winning in Battle Nexus games and even this rematch. Leonardo basically got an entire season for himself after the end of season 3. Well, to be fair, he had the most episodes for himself, probably because he is the leader. Donatello in comparison didn't really get that much attention. His spotlight episodes never really put him alone, as he was always paired up with someone else, either with Mikey or April, when the show wasn't really afraid of putting other turtles alone. Maybe the producers feared that no one will be interested in watching episodes only about a nerd, which is really odd as Donatello is one tough badass. I mean, he fried Shredder during season 2, killed him in Same As It Never Was and striked up ripped Cyber Shredder apart in Back to the Sewer. I mean, he did improve as a fighter, but he never really got any episodes to fix his flaws or showcase more of his inner self, like he's a workaholic, skipping sleep to get whatever he's working on done. He's shown to care deeply about others to the point that he would always put others in front of his own well-being. And I don't know, it kind of bothers me when these aspects could have been really interesting to be explored. Like he really went through some traumatic events, probably the most out of the 4 brothers, but it's never brought up. If you don't believe me, let me just show you a short compilation of him just suffering.
Kirby! No! It's done.
I can forgive some cases like witnessing Kirby getting stuck in alternative reality, but what he really goes through will make anyone traumatized. But the show never addresses them. Like he sees these battle-scarred brothers of his, hearing him disappearing caused all of this, and then at the end witnesses their deaths in Same As It Never Was, and the show never really gives him an episode where he will reflect on what happened and him finding some peace from his traumas. Like the show has some weird double standards. Leocon defeats Shredder at end of season 3 and half of season 4 is dedicated to his trauma and his depression. But nah, Donatello is fine. I must say, I really do like season 4 as it has some really excellent horror and foreshadowing. Like I mentioned earlier about the mutant cockroach, during the encounter he gets stabbed by one of the tendrils and over the course of 6 episodes he gets bandages on the leg he got stabbed in, and his brothers comment about him not looking good and getting more sick, culminating in adventures in Turtle City where he mutates into a freakish monster. This episode will always haunt me as it's rather creepy when you think about it. He goes through a painful transformation, he's alone in this horrifying event, and when he reaches the second stage of the mutation, he first tries to ask for help, but realizing it's too late for him, he just tells April and Casey to get away from him. And as true to his gentle nature, he puts others before him and tries to run away so he won't hurt them. And well, he had good reasons as he turned into a super aggressive and violent creature. I've seen some comments about someone else being this monster, but Donnie really fits as the mutant because his monster form is an opposite of him normally. Donnie is a calm, smart and peaceful turtle who doesn't like to rely on violence. Meanwhile, in this monster form, he is aggressive, violent and worst of all, just a mindless beast. He could have rested and tried to check on his illness, but like in the same Outbreak episode, he wanted to make sure the security was okay so his family will be safe. And in other episodes he constantly overworks himself to try and contain the mutant outbreak and saving others, but he didn't, and it led to this truly infamous episode. But even if he was a monster, he showed calmness whenever Master Splinter talked with him, and eventually he is cured, but the show is more interested in trying to start season 5 than what he went through. Imagine if 1 or 2 episodes were just dedicated to Donatello healing like with Leo in season 1. Like he wants to help others but he has to rest to make sure his sickness won't relapse. And during those episodes he suffers from nightmares and weakness, eventually him slightly opening up to his family, and it could perfectly lead up to a character arc in season 5. They could have made it that he struggles to achieve his mystic powers, as all of the trauma and recent events distract him from focusing to achieve his powers, but over the course of the season he would open up more about what happened and about his fears towards not being strong enough and his tech skills not being enough to protect his family and loved ones. And the more he opens up, the more powerful he becomes as less demons are there to haunt him, eventually being able to transform into one of the dragons and defeat the Tengu Shredder. And with season 6 onwards could have less selfless Donatello, but he's stronger with the experiences and is able to raise his demons and eventually show that even if he isn't physically the strongest, he is the wisest and strongest mentally. And you know, he would actually sleep and not overwork himself. Anyway, I kind of sidetracked there. Season 7 did try to give him a character arc where he feels guilty and responsible about Master Splinter being atomized to bits and is super obsessed on bringing him back, ignoring his brothers and working too much. But it ended on episode 5 with him being like, I'm sorry guys, I know Master Splinter is fucking dead, but that doesn't mean I shall leave you hanging, and acts normally the rest of the season. Which is super lame as the showrunners could dedicate this entire season to him for whatever reason. At least he defeats the Cyber Shredder, making him the turtle that beat Shredder the most.
I'm the sensible turtle, remember?
It's kind of crazy how much I had to say about Donatello in the 2003 era. The pieces are there, but for some reason the show never wanted to commit to him, and although he's my favorite iteration, he's the least developed out of the 4, and it kinda proves my point about him being kind of underrated and being sidelined by his more flashy brothers, as they got a lot more focused episodes, each highlighting their strengths, their insecurities, and Leonardo especially got all that attention with an entire season dedicated to him. And when it was time to give some of that attention to Donnie, the writers really didn't want to commit for whatever reason and just ended it pretty early, which to this day still annoys me whenever I decide to rewatch the season. And because how much I had to say about him, I have to split this up in 2 parts as this is already quite long and I don't want to be here all day. So for now, I'll stop. I'll see you again in part 2 and remember to have a nice day.
Robot.
Woohoo! According to my calculations, Donatello 1, you 0.
Don't worry, boys. The engineer is here. Yeah, still tinkering with that one.
This fight was a piece of cake!